Gonna say I don't know what else. I don't know what else to add now. Thanks so much for having me. Thanks so much for the barbecue. It's been a long day, and it's good to have some barbecue at the very end. We've been from Longview to Greenville. We've been in Mount Pleasant. We've been in Sulphur Springs today. I think we've been 5 or 6 stops. We'll be on 15 stops total in the last 3 days, talking to people just like you and all over the state about our race, about what we want to do and why we're going to win. Name is Sam Houston. I'm not related. I know I'm told that and said that a lot. I wish I could say that, but I'm running for Attorney General. I've ran before. I met a lot of you. I ran for State Supreme Court in 2008, so I'm not a novice at this. I understand how to run a statewide race. I understood it when I got into this. I got into it with my eyes open. I only got into it, and I would not have gotten into it just for the fun of it. I got into it because we can win it. I see it. I see the signs out there, and I'll tell you in a minute how and why we'll win the race this year. But what I learned, and what I say always when I come, whether it's in East Texas or West Texas or here in Denton, or I'm sorry, Louisville, I said Denton County. Fair enough. Denton County is. What I'm doing here and coming out and talking to y'all, and for everybody here that's running, we've got a lot of people here running from hard races, is what you do when you run is you do 3 things. You come out and talk to people, you tell them who you are, why you're running, what they can do to help. And you try to be short, you eat a little barbecue or you eat a cookie there at the end, and you let other people talk, and you move on and you tell the next group, and you tell the next group, because you gotta spread the word. That's it. There's a lot of people in Texas, and you've got to spread the word, and I can't spread the word without all of you, period. So, the who, what, and whys. You know, Phyllis gave a nice, a little bio, and so I really want to kind of go deeper into who I am, because it goes into why I'm running. I'm a lawyer. You got to be a lawyer for this job. I've been practicing for 26 years. And you got to love the law and love being an attorney and be proud of being a trial attorney, I think, to be a good attorney general. It's part of what's wrong with the office right now. I'm proud to have resolved disputes for people for 26 years, whether it's in a trial, usually it's in some kind of resolution, and work towards creative solutions to solving people's problems. That's what I do. That's what I am. A big city, sometimes they'll say, well, you're a big city lawyer because I've been in Houston all this time. And that's part of who I am, and I've learned a lot of that. But another reason, and even a bigger reason as I'm running, and I have so much passion about this job, is that I'm a lifelong Democrat. And the Democratic Party and what the Democrats mean are important to me. And I didn't learn that at Baylor Law School. I didn't learn that in the years, I learned that in a little bitty town in West Texas 40 years ago now. It seems like hard to believe, but growing up in my dad's store, my dad had a White's Auto Store. I don't know if y'all remember that. My dad and mom, but yeah, you know, there's Lily Ledbetter there. They each worked the same and made very little, both of them. But you know, it was in my dad and mom's store and their White's Auto Store. What they taught me was this, and this is an important lesson. It's something I want to tackle. You know, Dad had books that you kept, and we'd fill in those Rolodexes where you wrote down when people charged. And everybody could charge in that store, and you charged batteries and swamp coolers, tires, and 8-tracks and all those things. And everybody was the same there, though, whether you were what you looked like, what you did for a living, where you came from, who your brothers and sisters were. Everybody was treated the same by my dad and mom so long as they paid their bill. The only one that was discriminated against in that store was the people that didn't pay their bills, and it was quick as soon as they didn't. But you know what? It was an important lesson. Everybody counted, and everybody was important in that little town and in that store. And that's something we've forgotten, I think, in politics now, but not in the Democratic Party. And that's why I'm a lifelong Democrat. In our party, you look at the ticket right now, the ticket from Wendy to Leticia to me to Steve to Mike Collier, it's a diverse ticket. Not because we want it that way or planned it that way, it's because we are that way in our party. That's why I'm a lifelong Democrat. That's why I'm running again statewide, to take back our state for us, and for our kids, for our parents, take back our state and run the state, and my part would be the Attorney General's office like it ought to be run. That's why I'm running, period. And what are my complaints? Well, Phyllis talked about them, but I'm gonna get into some detail about them because there's really three things I like to say and talk about. There's a ton of reasons that things have gone wrong in the Attorney General's office. And the root of it all is that what has been happening in the last 20 years is the Republicans, because they've dominated our state in politics, they've dominated the elections. I mean, we haven't had a statewide win in over 20 years. I think it's about 20 years now. They run it, and that's the way they do it. So that office has become the stepping stone for the next race, you know. Senator Cornyn started out Supreme Court, Attorney General, Senator. Greg Abbott, Supreme Court, Attorney General. It's just the progression. And then, and what naturally happens, because it's human nature, is when you get in that office, the policies that have been promoted are for the Republican Party in that next step, and thinking about that next election, and not thinking about being a lawyer and solving the disputes correctly and in the right way. And then, number one reason it's easy to talk about, and people hear about it, but you ought to hear about it over and over and think about it because it's important, is that Greg Abbott's one of his campaign things he was proud of, and he put it out and said it, and it's part of his governor's campaign, and probably is up on both websites. He may be walking it back a little bit now, but I mean, he may be going back on that a little bit now. But is that when you come back on that would be that he gets up every morning and I sue President Obama. Remember hearing that quote? Yeah. And there's 27 lawsuits against the United States government. It's a source of pride. It's on the websites, and it's Kim Paxton and Dan Branch have put up on their websites that they're going to do the same thing, and that's just wrong. And let me tell you why. You know, again, as a lawyer, you know that look, we may have disputes with the federal government, but the last thing you want to do is go out and make that a campaign slogan, brag about it, spend all of our tax money, bringing these lawsuits. All of our tax money bringing these lawsuits, and they've lost a lot of them, and they don't always benefit all Texans. You know, they benefit a select few Texans, but they don't benefit all Texans. So we need to cut out these lawsuits. If lawsuits are going to be brought, it ought to be the last resort. And it dang sure shouldn't be a campaign slogan. That's not something anything would do. That does a lot of things, and it also hinders and hampers our ability to get federal funds in other areas where we need them. Not to mention that they turn them down, which is another big problem. That's right. But all of those things, that needs to change, and it needs to change. And the Attorney General's office. Of course, they passed the $5.4 billion cut. Wendy Davis filibustered. You know, there was all of that. You've heard that. Tried to put some more money on later and fix it after the judge held that it was unconstitutional the way they funded education. And now the lawsuit continues. They put a little more money back in, but more people have come into the school district. We are not adequately funding our education. And it's not going to happen litigating it into the Supreme Court of Texas. They can't fund education. All they can do is rule. So we got to have an attorney general who has the courage to stand up to tell the legislature to stand up and tell the legislature, look, you've got to fund the legislature. We're not going to allow you to litigate it in the Supreme Court for all this time. We're going to work out some solution. We're going to go back to the legislature, and you're going to have to do your job and fund schools, period. And that's why I'm running. And then finally, and it's something that's important to all of us, I know, especially in this room when we talk about it, it's another lawsuit. And another lawsuit that's not a very good one. And that is this. One of the things that I think is important about democracy in our party is that it's always been our party that's worked for the right to vote. You know, it's one of the reasons I'm a Democrat. Whether it was civil rights, whether it's our party has been about the right to vote. And not just some people. Not just even people that like it, that want to vote for me. It's everybody has a right to vote. And what's happened in the last few years, both with the gerrymandering, which the Attorney General sits on the board that decides the redistricting, the gerrymandering that basically takes away the right to vote because they make these districts that a lot of y'all are trying so hard to work for. Some of these candidates, I know, Phyllis, you're going to talk about them here in a minute, but I applaud you candidates. I know it's a tough district, and part of it is they gerrymander it so that Republicans are safe forever. And it takes away people's right to vote. And then we defend lawsuits when they challenge it, and it's our tax money, yet again, defending these people's decision to take away people's right to vote. It's wrong. And then, in addition to that, and this is much more cynical to me, this voter fraud notion that they put out there, that there's voter fraud, this rampant voter fraud, and the only way we can fix it is by having everyone have a DPS issued ID. I wonder who thought of that. Somebody who sat in the line at DPS and knew how that was going to be. Look, and I don't criticize DPS; it's underfunded, and they know that. That's another part of the problem. But to tie in this DPS requirement with voter fraud, which we know doesn't exist because they looked for evidence both when they passed the legislation, in the court case they looked for evidence, and it's not there. It's not. And then instead, but they went on ahead, even after the court had found it. But when the Supreme Court gave them a little break, they pushed forth, they went ahead, went straight ahead. And that's wrong. And they're going forward now, and here's the worst thing about it, is without any proof of this voter fraud, and anybody that's run statewide knows it, you couldn't even do such a scheme. You can't keep anything secret in this world. And they're gonna keep secret, a bunch of people are gonna go in there and vote for other people that don't exist with fake and something. You know, how many, 2 or 3 people are doing it? No, it's silly. It's silly, but, you know, and so they're gonna do that and use that proposal and then block out, who knows, how many, and you know who they're gonna block? The weakest among us. The people who has the slightest voice anyway, they're going to take their last voice away. That's wrong. It's the old, the poor, the people who have difficulty getting to the DPS that don't drive. And so, what all your friends tell you, when they tell you about, well, you know, it's nothing wrong with that driver's ID. You know, when you hear that, well, I got to have an ID to get beer. I got an ID to go to the movie. You know, so what's wrong with people having an ID to vote? You think about what I just said, and you tell them that, and most of the time when you tell people that, they'll go, you're right. That's wrong. And that's why I'm running. That's one of the main reasons I'm running. It is a reason I'll always vote straight Democrat. I would never ever, I mean, I've got friends who are Republican judges, but go get on our party, because as long as your party's against the right to vote, I'm not gonna have any part of it. So, all right, so it's been, one of the things I always say is you keep these things brief, and I'm probably violating that last rule, but here's the deal. What can you do for me? Number one, you're out here having good barbecue, by the way, smoking Joe's good bar. Everybody applaud the barbecue. But the main thing, and I've said it all the time, you know, as a down ballot kind of person, it's hard to get attention, and that's okay. But every person that knows about our message counts. And one of the quickest ways is just go to my Facebook page and like me on Facebook. And tell your friends, share that Facebook page, share that. Go to my website, look at the website, tell people to go to the website. Sometimes people go to the website and put a little money in it, and that doesn't hurt. You know, but all of those things count, because, you know, we're running, I think, a very, very efficient campaign to get the message out. And when we get the message out, we win. It's easy. It's across the state, there are more potential Democrats out there than there are Republicans. It's just all about the battleground. People that work for Battleground Texas will tell you that. We got to find our voters. We got to find the apolitical voters, people who don't think about it, and give them the message, because our message is better and our message is a winner. And all of the people that are working so hard to win these state districts, work hard. There's always a chance. Don't let people tell you there's not a chance. Because there's always a chance, because our message is right, and we're right, and we're going to get there. And what the final thing I'll talk about it is, because the hurdle in front of us right now, it is the Republicans, obviously, but the biggest hurdle and the harder hurdle is all the naysayers and the pundits who tell us you can't win statewide. They've told me that. They've told me that over and over. We got 46% in 2008. You know, and I know 4% of us stayed is a lot, but it can be done. And this is the year to do it, and I feel it. And I was talking to Phyllis about it, and I can tell you about it. It's not just being dewy-eyed, oh, we're going to do it. This is it. Here's why we're going to win. I can tell you right now, the Republicans are divided. They're in lockdown, battling it out, talking about ethical issues. They're talking about people changing their names. They're hearing it, and they're dirtying each other up, and that's good for us. And then at the top of the ticket this year, we've got a historic, something that just hadn't happened anywhere. We have 2 women, both of them excellent, well ahead of their peers. Because it's time for those kind of changes. We've made historic changes in the federal level, and it's time for historic changes to happen at the state level. and I can see it. It's gonna have a lot of attention. It's gonna have there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna be paying attention this election that didn't pay attention last time. Bill White is a great candidate, a good mayor, but just didn't have the attention. So this is gonna be a whole different ballgame for him, because when people pay attention, they hear our message, and we are right, period. And when we're right, people come forward. So demographics are on our side, right and wrongs are on our side. We're gonna have the publicity on our side, we're gonna have attention on our side, and their barriers to voting and their negativity. Go look at their websites of Ken Paxton or any of the Republicans. It's negative stuff. Build a wall, gun control, these negative things that they want to talk about. Our positive attitude is going to win. We're on the right side of every issue that Phyllis just talked about, and we'll carry forward on those. We won't let them. So, and I'll always end up saying this: it's strong Texas women that make me proud to be a Texan. I was raised by a strong Texas woman, and there's a pretty strong Texas woman in Houston right now that's waiting for me to get home, and that's important to me. And I'm proud to be on the ticket with two very strong Texas women. It's what's going to bring us back to our senses. And if a man named Sam Houston can't help him a little bit, then I'm getting out of this business and trying something else. So thanks so much for listening to me tonight. Thanks for all your help. Thanks in advance for putting me up on your Facebook page. And that's it. Thank you.